Hello, it's Donna from Taffy Crafting. I've got some time on my own, so I thought I would do some crafting, and I'm actually going to show you my start to finish planning when I'm going to make a box. I'm also working towards a bit of a milestone with my YouTube channel. I'm looking to get to 500 subscribers. I know that's not as much as some of the the big demonstrators on here. They've got thousands and thousands of subscribers, but this is something that I've been working on for a little while, and it would be great to be able to get to 500 subscribers by the end of June. So if you like this video and you've liked the other videos I do, please just subscribe to my channel, hit the subscribe, hit the bell to make sure that you get notifications every time I publish a video, and don't forget to tell your friends, any of your crafty friends. So trying to kill two birds with one stone here, I want to show you some new DSP that's come into the new catalogue, which launches today, launched on Tuesday, actually, on the 4th. So this is the nautical themed DSP, and this is called Come Sail Away. So lots of beautiful blues, lovely navy blues in there, navy blue and white. That's on the other side of that, so a lovely light blue with some lighthouse design on there. Some stripes, and then also some nautical instruments. Same with that one. Some sailing boats. We've got that green stripe on the back of that as well. So I think these appeal to men and women. Not all women like kind of flowery, pinky, bright colours. Some women like something a little bit more subtle. And I think the boating theme suits men and women. That's what I like about this particular designer series paper. That's lovely, lovely vintage feel about that. And then we've got that lovely stripe on the back. I really love that stripe. So more of a beige colour going on in the background with our navy blue and our lighter blue. So quite a contrast on those. And we've got some newspaper, old vintage newspaper design, still with the nautical theme on there. And then we've got our knots. I love the colours on those, really, really like those colours. And that again, and then we've got our compass. And on the back of that, then there's our nautical maps. So if you know somebody that likes sailing or nautical things, that likes knots, but also love these lovely blues and whites and beiges, then this might be the DSP for you. So I'm going to be using this one today, and I'll show you what I'm going to do in a second. I haven't actually made it. You're going to see a project from thinking about the original idea to then actually how I think about what I'm going to do, how I design it, and then how I start to construct it. So I'm going to show you that on a video. So I thought I wanted to make a box that folded over a bit like a pizza box, but taller than a pizza box, but that it had, the lid of it actually had around the front is going to stick with some Velcro, but it would be rounded. I don't want any ribbon on this because I want this, we've got Father's Day a week on Sunday, and I was thinking more about that and how I would make something for Father's Day. So what I did is I thought about, just sketch this, just thought about the measurements of the box. So the last box I made was 3/4 of an inch high, and it wasn't big enough. I want to fill this box with some sweets. I don't want it to be too big, but I do want to fill it with some sweets. So I want that to be 1.5 inches high. So I've just filled it out. There's the base, there are the fronts, there are the sides, there's the back, and then the lid that comes over. And then I wanted to have a rounded closure at the front, because I want no ribbon, no bows on this. I could have perhaps tied it with some twine or some string, but I didn't. I wanted to avoid that. So what I'm going to do is just try and I have had a bit of a practice with this, and just get some rounded corners on there with a Velcro dot. Now I can't make the box out of DSP. I don't think it will be robust enough. Even though our DSP, it is of, can't really tell on a video, but that's quite sturdy. But if you're going to fill a box with things that could potentially be heavy, and I'm going to fill this with some boiled sweets, you want something that's a bit more sturdy. So I'm going to be using cardstock. But what I did, once I got my measurements sorted, I then got some paper, this is just really, really thin photocopy paper. Measured it all out, scored it, cut it, wrote some measurements down, looked to see if that lid worked. So this is what we're going to try and do. There's the front of our box. They'll fold in there, that will come over there, and then I want this lid, this closure, just to fold in there. And then I've got some really nice DSP and cardstock to contrast that. So that's what I'm going to do. I want to show that it isn't difficult. This is what's great about this grid paper, that you can decide on the size, and then you can just use some of this. It would help maybe if I'd had some 12 by 12 white paper, but that's difficult to come by. Perhaps need to get hold of some A3. And then just to start playing about with it. I imagine very few people who do paper crafting videos make up something off the top of their head and the first time they practice it, it works. It doesn't work like that at all. So it needs a little bit of trial and error. And that's what I did there. So I'm going to put my template in front of me so that I remember what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. And the supplies that I'm using, so I'm going to use the Come Sail Away DSP. Just to let you know that this does actually come as 12 by 12, not 6 by 6. That's what this is, 6 by 6. But I got into a paper share with some fellow demonstrators, and we've ordered all of the DSP in the catalogue, and we're sharing it amongst the 4 of us. So we've got lots of 6 by 6. So this is ideal for card making, not necessarily for big box making, but you'll see how I'm going to use it there. I also need I'm going to be using Balmy Blue cardstock. I need a little bit of Night of Navy. I couldn't find any scraps, so I've had to get a whole A4 sheet of Night of Navy out. I've got a little bit of scrap of white. I've got some mini dimensionals. Regular viewers of mine know that every project has a mini dimensional in it. These aren't Stampin' Up. Stampin' Up don't do, I've got a problem with the light there. Stampin' Up don't do Velcro dots. Excuse me, I'll just alter the light. I don't know why that started flickering. We might have a little bit of glare going on. I'll keep an eye on that. Yes, Stampin' Up, I haven't got any Velcro dots at the moment. So these are something that I had for another project that I did, that a customer had asked me to make 100 boxes, and each of them were closed with Velcro. So they're a good size. So I'll have a pair of those. I've got some tear and tape, but really if I had more time, and you don't want to sit here watching glue dry while I'm making something, so I'm using this tear and tape just for speed, but you could use like snail or something like that. I've also got some Night of Navy ink because I'm going to be putting a sentiment on my box, and I've got the Tailor punch. This is a nice manly punch. It's Father's Day in a week and a half. Let's have something manly in there. So, and I'm going to use a stamp set, and at the moment I haven't decided which one, but probably use Well Said because that's got the Father's Day sentiment on there. But I've not brought it to my craft room with me, so I'm going to have to press pause and go and run and get that in a minute. But let's get on with making this box. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut my card. So I need my card to be, if you're going to make a box the same size as mine, I want my card to be 11.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So this is such a big piece of card, you can't see this on the whole of the screen, but that's 11.5. So I'm just taking half an inch off of that because this is 12 by 12. Get that out of the way, it's not much I'm going to be able to do with that. And 5.5. So you could actually make 2 boxes. So if you've got a dad and a granddad, or it doesn't even have to be a dad. My husband is a stepdad to my children. So, he does a lot for them. So they, that's what stepdads tend to do. They tend to step in. So you might want to treat a stepdad as well. So this is 5.5 by 11.5. Let's start with the short side while we're here. And at the short side, so this is what I've done with my sketch. So I know that once I know how high everything is going to be, then I work out where my score lines are going to be. fold that in there. So I need my first score line to be, excuse me, at 1.5. Make sure that blade's out of the way. Otherwise I'll be crying if I cut this. That's 1.5. And then the other one, you could actually, the easiest way to do that, because that's one of the sizes, then flip it and then do that again at 1.5. That is the easier way of doing that, rather than adding up and making sure you've got your calculations correct. So there's our 2 score lines there. So then we're going to flip it, and now we're onto the long side. This is where it gets a bit more complicated. There's my sketch. I need score lines here, 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 and here. So you just have to work them out depending on your measurements that you've got on there. So for this one, I didn't write them down. I'm going to have a look at my diagram. So we've got our first one at 1.5. Yes, first one at 1.5. Second one will be at 5. Try and get this on camera. Second one will be 5 inches. The next one will be at 6.5, which is the most awkward measurement to find on this, but 6.5, it's right in the middle there. And 6.5 and 10. So that's all the way over there. So that's all of our scoring. That's all we need to do with that. So what I'm going to be doing, first of all, I'm going to decide what is my front and what is the lid. So I'm going to have this side as my lid, and I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. So here's the bottom. We've got 2 squares here and a rectangle in the middle. So for the bottom, we are going to cut up that score line. I've got a huge pair of scissors. Because it's a bigger box, if I used my snips, I'm just going to be snipping into the card and it doesn't look as nice. So I've got a big pair of scissors. So you're just going to cut up there, and you're going to cut up that score line there. And what we want to do is then make a tab so that we can then turn these round and use them to stick to the box to hold it all together. So I'm going to just wedge that into there, just a little triangle. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm just literally chopping that off. You don't get to see this. That's right on the inside of the box. And I'm going to do the same with this one. You will notice that I haven't folded or burnished any of these score lines yet. I just prefer to do it this way. I don't think there's a right or wrong way. It's whatever works best for you. So there's the front of my box. I think I could probably just shave a little bit more off that score line there. It was a little bit inaccurate. The main thing is to make sure that it's neat. That does look a whole lot better. So we've got that. The next squares we're going to be looking at, you'll then have a square here and a square here, and we want to make some tabs out of those. So I'm going to turn that round, and I'm going to cut up these score lines up to the first score line, like that, and then create a wedge there and create a wedge there. I don't know if that's the right terminology. It's what I've always used. I must have picked that up off another demonstrator. So I've got that, and I'm going to turn that around, and I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to cut up there like that, cut up there like that, and then just cut those diagonal lines into that as well. And again, they do not need to be exact. Don't need to measure anything. So now we've got that. So now I'm at what's going to be the lid of my box. And what I'm going to do is actually take away those 2 squares as neatly as possible. Need that raw edge to be super, super neat, because that's going to be right on show. And then I'm just going to cut up here and remove that square. And then I'm going to cut up there and remove that square. So now we can distinguish between the front of our box and the lid of our box. There's one more thing I want to do with this. I want to round these. Now the paper rounder won't work because it's too small. So I've got a really piece of high-tech kit here. I've got a cup. This is one of our little cute espresso cups. And this is what I'm going to use to round it. You can use anything, but this is how I did it. I wanted to make sure that I had a nice big rounded corner on here. So what I've done, I hope you can see that, I've got this into my grid paper. Now you don't necessarily have to use grid paper. You could make a mark at halfway and then the same distance there and then draw around your cup. But I've decided to use my grid paper. So I'm going to make a mark. I've counted 3 squares down there, 3 squares down here, and that is where I'm going to place my cup. Hope you can see that. So I'm going to match one curve here and match that curve there. Line it up. I can't now actually see it because the cup's in the way. And I'm just going to draw around like that. And then I'm going to do exactly the same with this side. So you need to make sure, you could do it actually on the reverse. Just need to make sure then that you line that up. That's easier to see there, isn't it? So just going to line the cup up there, line it up with that, and then draw a circle or a curve. And so I've got that. And I'll use that again when I'm going to decorate the front of this. And what you need to do, I've got the light shining on this card making it a bit difficult, so just cut round and create a curve slowly and neatly. This one's slightly more difficult. I'm just going to fold that out of the way. And then I'm just going to cut round that curve as well. Like that. So now we can fold and burnish all of our score lines. I'm just going to fold these along here, give them a good press, and we can start to construct our box. And actually what I should do, what I've forgotten, I want to decorate this first, just with a couple of pieces of DSP. Just folded all of those and press them down. Okay, so that's now the inside of my box. I'm going to turn that over. So this is the top where the lid is, because I've got my curved front, and so I'm going to have a piece of DSP here and then 2 pieces of DSP here, and I'm also going to make another one for this. So the one that I want to use, and I'm probably going to need 2 sheets of this, I'm going to use that one, and where's the other one? There's the other one. So I'm not going to use the sailing boats. Sailing boats, lighthouses, I'm going to use that. What I do need to be careful of is my direction of my stripe. So when I'm cutting this, I want to make sure that I've got stripes running that way and stripes running that way on these 2 as well. So be mindful of that when you're cutting. I just think it looks better if you've got all of your stripes running the right way. So for these 2, you need 2 pieces of DSP that measure 3 1/4 inches by 1 1/4. And then you need this one, and I wrote it down and I can't find it. Right, okay. You need that one to be 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. That's not right. Yeah, 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. So get the old trimmer out again. So the shorter side is on the vertical stripe. So 2 1/4, so this is for the big one on the top. 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. And then that one's probably not, no, that's not going to be big enough. So we've got some scraps. I'm going to have to think of something else for that. And then the other ones are going to be 3 1/4 by 1 1/4. So the 3 1/4 needs to be that way. So just line that up at 3 1/4. And then I want 2 of these at 1 1/4. So that's 1 and 2. And then finally, this one I've got to be careful with. I also want to make one for this. So I start off with a piece of DSP. Actually, that one's going to work probably, and that's going to be 2 1/4 by 1 1/4. So get that cut first. So this is how we want our vertical stripes to run. So 2 1/4. I hope that works. Oh yes. I think that is actually, yes, that is actually 2 1/4 by 1 1/4. And I'm going to do exactly the same as I did before with my cute little espresso cup. So let's get it back on my grid. And what I'm going to do, I'm not going to be able to see any pencil lines. So what I'm going to do is just line up there. So there's my number 3 box with the 3rd box there. Oops, I've just knocked the camera. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it that way round. I'm being super silly there. Could actually have used the lighter side. Sorry, I've knocked that camera. My big head in the way. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do that so that I've got equal distance. Let's do this one first because it's much easier and I don't headbutt the camera. So just draw a curve there. And oops, that's super slippy. And a curve like that. And then I'm just going to cut around that. So that is now all the prep, pretty much, for our card done. Let me show you. So everything's on the top of the card. So we have, that will go there. That will go there. And that will go there like that. And then that has totally come out the wrong size. And I've got to do that again. Why has that gone wrong? That is way too big. Okay, so that was 2 1/2 by 1 1/4. Look, way too big. You probably all noticed that when I cut it. And you're probably all shouting at the video, going, no, what are you doing? I was just testing you. Now I've got some of my curve missing now. Right, bear with while I put this right. Oh, I love it when things go wrong on camera. A little bit of quick thinking. We'll get it sorted. Get my cup out again. This just makes our video about 2 minutes longer than it should be. Right, should we try that again? That's why it went wrong, because I wanted to demonstrate how I've actually done that curve. I don't know if you noticed. I moved the paper more than the scissors. So there I start, I just make a slight incision and I turn the paper as I move the scissors. And it just glides. There are, no one would ever know that you've done that with a pair of scissors. Anyway. And then we're going to put that there, like that. So we'll stick those on. So we've got a nice border going around all of those. So I'm going to glue those on. So we're ready to glue these bits on now. You can use any type of glue. Wet glue is normally best for this. I'm just using this glue out of a dispenser. It's not Stampin' Up, and I keep falling out with it. But I don't have a great deal of Stampin' Up glue at the moment. It's just all run out. and I've got an order on its way. So get that as central as you can. And this final one here, just for the front. Whoops, that didn't sound very good, did it? Still works, thank goodness. And we're just going to put that there like that. So there we go. That's all of that stuck on. Now we need to put the whole box together. So that's that bit. So what we're going to do is just trying to think, do I need, no. So I'm going to put that together like that. So they're going to stick to that. They are going to stick to that. And then that comes over. And then we'll have a little Velcro dot on there. And there will be our box, okay? So just so you realize, if that's the top, that's the top. These flaps are going to join the front part here. So to do that, flip that over. I'm going to do this with tear and tape. If I had more time, I would do it with wet glue. But you don't want to sit here and watch glue dry. So what I'm just doing is using tear and tape, which is just as good, but you don't get that. You don't get that sort of little bit of time to manoeuvre the tab. So I'm just going to then remove those and then stick them to these two to the inside of that and these two to the inside of those. I'm just going to take these backing strips off of there. Oh, that one's struggling to get off. I'm not always very good at taking this stuff off. Right, last one. And then I'll show you how I'm going to put this together. So we'll start with these front tabs first. So we'll take this tab here, put it inside this, and make sure that that raw edge, the cut edge, matches that folded edge, and press that down. The same with that one. Push it into the inside. That raw edge matches that folded edge. And the straighter you can get it, the better. So you get a nice right angle. These two are going to come into this side. Again, push it in, bring this round, and make, it all starts to get a bit awkward at this point. Whoops. Make the cut edge match the folded edge. And the last one, push that in, and then that completes your box like that. Now this is what happens when you start putting together and practicing with boxes and things, I've realised that that goes together, but I have these flaps and I hadn't thought about that when I put it together. That probably should have been attached to that. So I'll remember that for next time. So now I'm going to think, right, what am I going to do? I've got to adapt this. I still want to put a Velcro dot on there. So we're going to have two types of closures on this. So I'm going to get one Velcro dot and I'm going to put that, take the backing off it. I'm going to kind of eyeball that and just put it there. That looks about in the middle. Get the other side of the Velcro. Which I've put here somewhere. There they are. So there's the other side. So the other side we'll put on top of that. It's totally stuck to me. So you put this together like that, and then, so that's got the sticky side there. Push that down, and then you know that that's in the right place. And then you can open it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some sweets in here. Oh, got some rustling. Let's get some sweets in there like that. There we are, got a few in there. And then I'm going to close it. And there's the Velcro down. So flaps, didn't want flaps, there's a mistake. So I found some white baker's twine. Actually, I think this is, it's more like very vanilla. So I've just got a length of that, which I'm going to cut. I'm still going to put a sentiment on here. What could I do with this actually? Just going to see all of my thought processes here. It's not about having it perfect first time. It doesn't always work like that. Let's make that a bit shorter. So that's come round once. No, it's just going to have to be twice. I won't give up with this. I won't give up. And we'll just tie a knot there. So no bows. I didn't intend to have any closures like this at all, but there we have that. I'm just going to cut those, just trim that off there like that. So I've got that closed down there, and then I'm going to, where's my blue card? So I've got some blue card, that's Night of Navy. I've got my tailor tag punch. Let's put that out of the way for a second. And I'm going to just punch half of this out. So just eyeball it. So it doesn't really matter if that one's not exact. And you're going to do that again. Like that. And we're going to put that just on our card like that, and that can just overlap a little. So I'm not going to stick that down just yet until I've got my other piece of card done. So I've got some Whisper White. I've got an ink blot. Don't know why the light's suddenly gone funny. But the ink blot, I've got a Happy, and then I'm using Well Said. That's where the Happy's come from. I had that out, and we have got, where is it? Father's Day. So we'll use that. Just going to find it on here. Looking everywhere and can't find it. Cannot find it. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's quite thin. I'll show you now how these cling stamps work. So these are our sentiments. So we'll find Father's Day, which I've lost again. There it is. So we peel that off, but you want to leave the sentiment there. That's it. That's Mother's Day. Oh, goodness me. Where is Father's Day? There. This is just going to be one of those videos where it's just, everything's going to go wrong. Got to take the backing off of the stamp. And then this is going to sit directly onto there. That's not quite right. Push it down and then you can take it off, and then there's your stamp on there. That's how the cling stamps work. Let's put those to one side. We just need to line this up. And I'm going to get my Night of Navy ink. Let's stamp this and see what it looks like. And the way my luck is going today, it probably look horrendous. We'll give it a go. First time. Oh, I've just gone and stuck my thumb in the ink. Every time I've got ink out. We're going to punch that out. And then that is going to sit on there like that. So let's get those two stuck down. So I'm just going to use just a bit of this dispenser glue. I always call it dispenser glue. I don't know what it's called. Tape gun glue. I don't know. It's probably got some technical name. So I've got my box back. I'm going to put that one in there, so there's going to be a gap, and the reason we do that is just to make sure then that we've got a border around that. It's a really good way of doing that, a really good effect. Let's just get some dimensionals, and that's going to be the final finishing touch to this card. I'm going to put 3. It's a bit generous for me, isn't it? 3 mini dimensionals. Just going to put that on there just so the edges, that is not straight. So if this video is a kind of inspiration for anything, it's about don't give up, just keep going and not to give up. Sometimes it's really easy. I've done this before. I've made something and I've just tore it up, screwed it up, put it in the bin and thought, right, that's it, I'll start again. But actually I've persevered with that. It's not quite gone as I expected, but I've still got the box that I wanted. I've got a nice curved flap there. Okay, so I had flappy flaps there and didn't want them, but now I've just tied those down with some twine. So I'm happy with that. And I've got the sentiment that I wanted. So I'm not complaining at all. And I'll probably eat those sweets in there. So I hope you enjoyed it. And giving you some inspiration to make something for Father's Day. And just with some cardstock and some nice DSP, you can make something as simple as that. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you want to see some later tutorials coming up in the future. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks ever so much. Bye bye.